Hello.
Hello. Hi, Megan. This is Shelli Yoder.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello. Well, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good. Sorry I had to change our time.
No, you are totally fine.
Well, I am driving, so I will, we'll have this good conversation. Is anybody else on the call, or we're...
No, it'll just be you and I.
Okay.
My group members had other commitments, so
Okay.
yeah. But thank you for meeting with me. I really appreciate it. It's really going to help our group work with our research. I won't keep you for long. It'll just be for a couple questions. But are you familiar with the House Bill 1317 of the surrender?
I'm not.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll give you like a brief overview of it. So it's called the surrender of firearms in domestic violence crimes. And it addresses the surrender of the firearms in cases like involving domestic violence, intimate partner relationships, and it typically requires individuals who like have protective orders or like are convicted of like a domestic violence like offense to surrender their firearm to like a law enforcement or a designated third party. And some research that we found like along with that was that if they also seek out like buying a firearm after this whole thing has been like set into effect, then that would also count as like a Class A misdemeanor, which we thought was really interesting. And there was also like specific provisions that include timelines for surrendering and like the procedures of enforcement and all of that. And we saw that it recently just became inactive, so that's also why we wanted to like get like your perspective on that. And, like, how, like, what factors, like, contribute to, like, a law or, like, a bill becoming inactive?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, if it doesn't get a hearing,
Yeah.
it'll, well, if it does, technically, so the first hearing is technically when the bill gets assigned a committee.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets heard in committee. So what happened with that bill, did it ever get heard in the House?
It did not seem that it did. It just says, or it did have, on the 13th of January, it said it had its first reading and was referred to the Committee on Courts and Criminal Code, but after that there was nothing else.
Exactly. So that first reading was just reading it across the desk and assigning it to criminal codes.
Okay.
And then it never got a hearing. So then it died. It's called dying in committee.
Okay.
And so it never got heard. Who's the author of the bill?
It's Representative Vernon Smith.
Yes. So the challenge is, Indiana, we have a super majority. So Representative Smith is a Democrat, and it's really hard when you have a Democrat who gets a bill heard in committee and then gets voted out of committee and gets voted on the floor. I mean, it's really extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
It's extraordinary. And so this bill, like so many other Democrat bills, just didn't even get a hearing.
Wow, yeah.
And it just died, even though it's good policy.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time it is a political issue.
And it's sad because it could impact someone's life. So, like...
Oh, directly,
yeah.
Yes. Taking someone's life,
Yeah, yeah.
But, also, you've got the subject matter of the bill, which is even though it's common sense, it's good policy, it's safety, but it's still gun safety. And we are in a state that even something like this bill, where you think, well, this is just keeping people safe, people who shouldn't have guns, but still, these bills are impossible to get heard.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
And we did some research on like policy in the news and found
Yes.
In like Illinois, they just had a law passed. It's called Karina's Law, where it was just passed, I think, early February. And it's basically the exact same as this. It just isn't, like, the language is a little different. I think it's not convicted, it's just the protective orders. But it's really interesting how they were able to, like, put the bill to kind of like a story, because it's about a mom who lost her life to a, like, firearm in a domestic violence situation. And so it's just very interesting how it can be in two different states, and suddenly it's just like that state line is where it just dies.
That's right. You know, in one state, it's good policy and it's enacted into law.
Mm-hmm.
And then in another state, it doesn't even get a hearing.
Yeah.
And it just you know, comes down to party lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there are any changes to the bill that could have increased its chances of passing in Indiana?
That's a really, really good question. I'd have to look more closely at the bill since I don't have it in front of me to know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, you know, in a case like that, because I have bills that I really care about and they did not get a hearing. So I will either stick with it, I will use my interim time to educate. I will continue to work bills that did not get a hearing, even if they didn't get a hearing, because everyone is in one place, and I can take a 15-minute meeting, and my colleagues are more apt to, you know, I don't have to drive to Fort Wayne or, you know, Elkhart. And I can educate them. And I want to give an example, and that is the repeal of menstrual discharge collection devices. I have been working on this bill since my first year in the Senate.
Oh, wow.
And finally, and I have worked this bill. I have taken meetings. I have, oh my goodness, every year I work this bill as if it's going to pass. That's what's so funny, as if it's going to pass. And you know, finally, I talked to enough Republicans that a man, a House Republican man, filed the bill.
Wow.
And it is actually, I think it's going to pass this year. It's in the budget.
Wow.
So
that is insane.
It is insane. It's taken, 5 years. It's taken lots of meetings, lots of education. And then finally convincing a Republican to file the bill.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
But I think that's what my advice would be is, encourage Representative Smith to continue working the bill, educate senators and representatives on really the good that it would do. Maybe, one thing that I have a complete benign firearm bill that if you run a child care business out of your home, you have to notify the parents that it's safely stored.
Yeah.
And if it's not, okay? I mean, I'm not saying you can't have a gun, a firearm. You can have a firearm.
Yeah.
But parents who are dropping off their kids, we should at least be able to notify them how the firearm is stored. That was seen as too radical.
You would think that they would be like okay with it. It's not like saying you have to get rid of it. It's not going against their Second Amendment. It's just disclosing to parents.
Yeah, it could still be taken out, but we got a little further.
Yeah.
Every year we've gotten a little bit further. In my first year, I was just thrilled that I got it filed. I had years of being filed and worked on, and as Senator Bray, the president pro tem of the Senate, told me about 2 years ago, keep working on it, Senator. You've already made good progress. You believe in this, so keep talking about it, keep meeting with senators, and eventually we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll get there this year.
And that's something that's really interesting, I feel like, to hear for some, even like from my standpoint, where I wasn't really thinking about policy until like this class I'm in. And it's just like my world has just been like expanded, and like looking at policy and looking at different ones, and how like people are still able, like especially from your story about how you guys are still able to go through and keep on putting it in. Like I feel like I would lose hope at some point, but it's really inspiring to hear. Yeah.
So we have an internship. We currently have a policy intern who is a social worker.
Oh, really?
And yeah, she just got her MSW, but we take college undergraduate students as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, please tell Megan that she needs to consider doing an internship with the Senate Democratic Caucus, because she has just learned so much about all the policy that she cared about as a social work student, and now gets to work on it and write memos and create, she just now is a sort of Jane of all trades, master of none, but you just become a student of so many different policy areas.
That's really, it's really nice to hear. Thank you. I didn't know that existed. I've been looking for things related to policy, and next school year we have our practicums, and I just accepted a practicum with Monroe County CASA, like the case advocacy.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Excellent.
Mm-hmm. So it's nice to like kind of dip my toe in there and like figure some things out for sure.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And that will be such a good experience.
Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to it, yeah. And then one final question I just want to ask you is how can the public get involved in supporting policies that aim to protect people that are in domestic violence situations and that are like domestic violence survivors? So just to wrap up, how do you think the public can get involved in like supporting policies that aim to protect the domestic violence survivors?
Well, there are good groups out there that do this work. The Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence is one group.
Mm-hmm.
You can sign up for their communication and support them and use them as a resource. There are other groups out there that work to educate in this space. I'm trying to think of some that I'm aware of. I know that traditionally women's groups get involved with Women for Change and push for this legislation.
Mm-hmm.
Get involved with Our Choice Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
Agency, some of these are overlapping policies, and find political action committees that lobby on these priorities and values and get involved.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much once again. I appreciate you meeting over the phone with me and sharing all of your experience and answering the questions that I had for you. I really appreciate it. It's going to help our project a lot.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Megan, and please use me as a resource.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I hope to meet you in person one day.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
All right. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.